That's going to change.
And I know that clock is a little slow apparently, or your computer's fast.
Well, I mean, we set it the other day, reset it. So, and it was tied to this, so I don't know anything on here anymore.
Yeah,
At the moment.
at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. Since that's the visible time, I use that,
Yeah,
so.
use that.
Okay. We will call this meeting of the Palmer City Council to order for November 14th, 2023. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Alcantara.
Here.
Councilmember Moline.
Here.
Mayor Carrington.
Here.
Councilmember Tudor.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Councilmember Cooper.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti.
Here.
All here.
All right. If you could all stand, I'll ask if Fisher Adams could lead us in the pledge, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next is the approval of the agenda, which includes the minutes from our previous meeting, October 24th, 2023. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any objection to accepting the minutes as presented? Okay, no objection, we'll call that unanimous. Do we have any? Okay. Next is communications and appearance requests. And let's see. We're going to start with a proclamation recognizing Fisher Adams' win at the Division I State Cross Country Championship. So, did you hear Fisher? Am I supposed to get this thing going?
Should be on. It's on. Should be on.
All right. So a proclamation recognizing Fisher Adams' win at the Division I State Cross Country Championship. Let's see if I can get through the whereases. Whereas the Division I State Cross Country Championships gathered dedicated athletes to compete at the highest level, whereas Palmer High's Fisher Adams, a senior, not only delivered a commendable performance, but also secured the championship title by finishing the 5-kilometer race in 16 minutes and 69 100ths of a second. Whereas Fisher Adams distinguished himself finishing 42 seconds ahead of the next competitor, showcasing his commitment and training. Whereas despite facing challenges from South Anchorage High runners early in the race, Fisher maintained focus and determination, ensuring a win on his final home course race. And whereas by improving his previous record by 20 seconds, Fisher's achievement underscores both his dedication to the sport and consistent growth. Now, therefore, it's proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Palmer, November 17th, 2023, as Fisher Adams Day. I don't always offer that up because some people would take me up on it. Next, we've got Mary Jo Parks, Palmer Museum of History and Art, I think wants to come make a report. And you might pull that closer to you so we can.
How's that?
Oh, yeah.
A little more?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and others visiting are here. It has been quite a while since I have come before you to share any updates about the Visitor Information Center and Museum. The past months have been very busy. As you've seen in your report that we gave you in your packet, we have had a record-breaking year. We had almost 10,000 visitors from in-state alone, 12,000 visitors from out of state, 428 buses, which brought almost 10,000 visitors to our community. We are, for the most part, to these people, the first encounter they have with Palmer, Alaska. I think our visitor information specialist, Linda, known also as the Chaos Coordinator, put it best when she greets visitors. I just love meeting all kinds of people. When they visit, I want them to love Palmer. While they're in our building, while they are in the cabin, these people become friends. We work hard at helping them find what they're looking for, from hiking trails that match their skills, to the reindeer and muskox, to walking on glaciers, shopping and dining. I want their experience to be one they will remember. I want people to see Palmer with its proud heritage. And indeed, in our visitor information sign-in book, people tell us over and over and over again what an amazing place Palmer is and how much they enjoy being at the log cabin. This year, as we negotiated the language in the contract with the city, we are called an independent contractor. But we are so much more than that. The Palmer Museum of History and Art, a nonprofit, is your representative in the community, in the state, and even in the world. We're passionate about what we do. When I first joined the board, I was impressed with all these things the nonprofit does. But now, after a year and a half of being president, I am proud of the work that is done for Palmer. Recently, I spent the day working at the Visitor Information Center. The people that came in were so impressed again with the information that we offered them. And they really enjoyed walking through the history and the museum part. They took time to play on the piano, and they sat by the fire and talked with their family members about their childhood and different history things that it had reminded them of. This year, we have done a great deal of new things, as well as many of the ones that we've been known for. Again, we are the first stop for people as they come. We train our staff to have the etiquette and to understand the different nationalities and different things that people are looking for. The buses we have worked hard to bring in more buses, and it's been successful. We continue to host the Artist of the Week and have found amazing artists that we have in this community. Our Beyond the Classroom program works with the high schools and home schools to have students submit artwork to us and have it judged, and then they can receive scholarships. Through a generous donation of the backcountry bike and ski, we have bikes that people can rent, and over 120 visitors took tours of Palmer on the bikes. One of the things that impressed me was the youth art classes that we offer out on the lawn during the summer. Luckily, we had lovely weather this year. Over 120 children came, and parents were hoping for even more. And we'll be looking at expanding that. All of this is done by local art teachers. We host student tours from the different schools. Over 450 students come. They get to do a scavenger hunt, which I'm going to be honest, is a little more complicated than I realized it would be. We offer historical walking tours, and people have really enjoyed learning about our community and the different areas within a mile of the museum. Another thing that's very important to us is we are the hub, we are the center for many community events. From Friday Fling to the Colony Days, Midsummer Garden and Art Fair, even Trick or Treat Town and Colony Christmas, we are a must-stop place. We again printed and distributed the 2023 Palmer Visitor Guide putting over 30,000 copies in the community and the state. The museum has seen a number of increases also. We oversee the records of the artifacts and the collections. And new this year was the display for the Matanuska Made exhibit that will be going out to different classrooms. And last but not least, and really quite a testament to Richard Estelle, is our Matanuska Valley Historical Photo Project. Over 14,000 photos have been included on the, have been looked at and dated and recorded. I want to say again that the amazing things we've gotten to do, one other thing we do is we host 2 fundraisers in downtown Palmer, where in the winter 150 and in the summer 350 people get to go shopping at various stores, making shopping in the winter and the summer for these stores sometimes their best day ever. Afterwards, many of the restaurants see an increase in customers. I want to conclude by inviting you to join us at the Visitor Information Center and Museum. Come either as a group, bring your families, or come and do a personal tour. You too will be amazed by what's actually available to share with the people that come to visit our community. And lastly, I encourage you to visit the website palmermuseum.org. Just recently, I've been going through many of the old photos and looking at what it was like to be a pioneer here in our community. You need to know and feel proud of the investment you as a city have made in the Visitor Information Center and Museum. Not only is history being preserved, but the future is bright and promising for all those that visit here.
Thank you. Does the council have any questions or comments they want to make for communications and appearance, not to mention budget time? It's all quiet. Oh, no.
All right, well,
Josh is back. Councilman Tudor.
Mary Jo, I just want to say thank you for presenting to us, and I just want to say thank you especially for this visitor statistics information. Is super helpful that you broke it down by if they were part of a bus tour versus if they just kind of showed up on their own, and if they're from out of state or in state. That is what we're looking for. So I just want to say thank you for that.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo the statements of the council member to my right. And Mary Jo, thanks for everything you do for the community. I noticed a couple of your super board members, Pat Chesborough and Aaron, here in the audience. But are you guys fully staffed with 9 board members and with the executive director these days, or what's happening on that front?
So I do apologize for not mentioning that. Pat Chesborough, who is our interim director at this moment, and Erin Saunders is here, and she is our hero for all of the art and community art, as well as the art classes and so on. We are down 1 board member at this moment. Elections will be in February, and we are recruiting at this time. And at this time, we are also doing a nationwide search for a new executive director.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have George Collum, the Palmer Golf Course Manager. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's been a while since I've done a end of season report, but I'm happy to come back and do it again. I know it's probably long overdue, but good to see a lot of familiar faces and some new ones. So this year, we had a slow start, as everybody knows. That was here last winter with all the snow drifting and the amount of snow. The course opened 3 weeks late, which is always stressful for me because early season is a good time of year for us to get off to a fast start as far as financial part of the operation. When you lose the first 3 weeks of the season, you lose a lot of range time, you know, people hitting range balls and getting out, to visit the golf course and get the season started. So we did open on May 1st, which is, I think, tied for the latest opening we've ever had. We did bounce back quickly, though. It was rainy early, but the course received that rain really well. The golf course, Palmer Golf Course, has the ability to drain very fast, so we can handle a lot of rain. And actually, a lot of rain or a lot of water is good for us. Not always great for business, but good for the golf course. We had our irrigation up and running fully by the end of May, which is always one of our big goals. Over the years, all the work we've done on the irrigation system as far as the irrigation lines has really paid off with how fast we can get automated. And when we go automated, it changes the golf course in a week. It's pretty dramatic. So that's always exciting to have that get going. We were recognized in Golf Week's Best in State as one of the top courses in the state of Alaska to play this year, and also in the Best of the Valley from the Frontiersmen. It's always nice to get those recognitions. Some of the goals that we always try to achieve each year are maximize revenues while controlling expenses. We reestablished bent grass on all the greens for better putting surfaces. Bent grass is a creeping grass that is used on a lot of greens around the world. And in my opinion, it's the best putting surface, smoothest putting surface you can have. And it does well in our climate up here. We continue to replace broken water lines with new HDPE pipe as needed, and that project's been going on for years. We did restore all the sand traps this year. Sand traps were always kind of one of our biggest complaints from customers was the sand is either too hard or there's, it's just not very playable. So this year, we brought in lots of sand and refilled all the sand traps, and it made a big difference. It was very nice. Had a lot of compliments about that. Fairways, we're always trying to repair fairways. It's a big project, big areas. As the golf course has gotten older, it settles and you get low spots, and over the winter, those spots freeze and you try to build those back up. When we aerate our greens in the fall, we take the plugs from the greens and we fill in the low spots and fairways, and that's paying off. The fairways were the best they've ever been. Actually, the golf course was the best I've ever seen it, and I've been here 22 years now, and I've never seen it like that. And I've actually played this course since it opened, so it was tremendous. When I go down south and I play golf in the lower 48, I always compare ourselves to those golf courses. They're kind of the ones that are setting the standard in the industry, and I think we're comparable to anything you can play outside when we're in our best shape come late June into July and then all the way through September. We've been continuing to maintain equipment and our cart fleet. Unfortunately, the carts that we were trying to get for Moose Run never materialized. They're still waiting on the Yamaha carts that they've ordered 2.5 years ago. Supply chain issues, as we know, have been a major thing to deal with for anybody in retail or in any business. So the last thing I've heard about the carts, they are supposed to get their carts in February. Obviously, we're not gonna be able to do anything about getting those carts until the snow goes away and we can actually transport them. So that's still the plan. It's still our best option to get golf carts in a timely fashion and for a reasonable price. We did acquire a Buffalo turbine debris blower this year. It's a large blower that we tow and we can blow leaves and debris off the golf course, clean the course up quickly in the spring, get it turned around for play, and then also clean up in the fall. So it was much needed and it's paid dividends immediately. We continue to grow the game of golf through golf instruction, junior golf programs, and our free Kids Day Clinic. We continue to use artificial turf mats on our driving range. We got those a couple years ago. They allow us to get on our driving range quicker. We don't have to wait for the driving range tee area to dry out, and it helps us maintain our driving range. We predominantly stay on the mats throughout the year, and we go off the mats onto regular turf for our bigger events, like some of this, like the state tournaments that we host, like the state amateur. We hosted that this year, our Palmer Invitational, club championship, things like that. So, and the driving range is in good shape because of it. We have been working on repairing some of the insulation in the clubhouse. Actually, that just got completed today. So that's nice. Clubhouse gets quite cold, and we've had some issues with the last couple winters with the wind blowing snow up into the attic above the drop ceiling in the clubhouse, and issues with pipes freezing and things. So I think we have that under control now. We continue to use social media to promote the golf course and events. We've upgraded our credit card acceptance capabilities to include multiple points of sale locations and accepting American Express for the first year. And we increased rounds played in tournaments this year. So overall, it was a record year, significantly a record year for us. For a year that we started out 3 weeks late, I would have never thought that, but we were busy, very busy. And the weather wasn't the best, a lot of rain in the area, but we have a bubble here. If you're not familiar with that golf course, it's the strangest thing. It can be raining a mile from the golf course and we won't get touched. So, and people have learned that over the years, and we still get a lot of people that won't come out from Anchorage if it's raining in Anchorage. But often it's just not raining here. So we continue to be busy throughout the summer. So that was awesome. It was a great summer for that. Goals and projects for next year. We're going to continue to increase revenues while controlling expenses, increase the number of rounds played and attract new tournaments, repair power carts that are currently non-operational. We have quite a few. We try to keep putting them back together, but each time you do that, it gets tougher to get a cart running, and eventually the cost of doing it isn't worth recouping that cart. Too many things go wrong with it. We're still hoping to acquire those 50 golf carts from Moose Run Golf Course in the spring, continue fairway restoration projects, acquire a new greens mower. Our greens mower, the motor blew up on the primary greens mower in the fall, and so we're looking for a new triplex greens mower. It's probably the most important piece of equipment a golf course can have, because everybody looks at a golf course, they always want the greens to be the best. That's the number one thing people look at. So it's going to be important for us to find one of those. We're on a waiting list with Toro, which is the greens mower that we prefer, which is what we've been using. And that waiting list is close to a year. And so if we, hopefully by August, we could potentially have another greens mower, a new greens mower. We do have one that we can use in the meantime. It's just very old, and hopefully we can get by through the summer with it. But we don't have any financial commitment to that greens mower. So I got us on a waiting list, but we didn't have to put any money down, or, you know, if something changes, or if I continue to shop for something that might be slightly used with low hours and a better price. And if I can find that, then I can just cancel where we are on the waiting list. But it would be nice to have a new one, because it's always good to have pieces of equipment that are still, they're warranted and they're new and they will last longer. We'll continue to replace the PVC irrigation lines with HDPE. Acquire new range balls. It's our range ball year. Every couple of years we have to reload on range balls, so that we have decent golf balls for people to practice. families we have at Palmer Golf Course. That's one thing that I've really noticed a big change over the years is the families. You know, I used to go play golf in places like Florida, and I'd see these families going out and playing golf, and I thought, well, you know, we don't really have much of that up here, and we do now. If you come to the golf course, you'll see lots of kids playing golf. I've been pretty aggressive in marketing the golf course for children through different programs. Very inexpensive golf for children. If they are in our junior programs, they get to hit range balls for free. And those are the ways that you will facilitate an industry like this. And even on our local level, just keeping people coming to the golf course, interested in golf. And I think golf has a bright future overall, worldwide.
Saying that you want to increase your social media presence. Where are you advertising so that we can get this information out to the folks who are riding their bikes out, you know, to know that we actually have a golf course that's, you know, #1 in the state?
I've been using Facebook predominantly for the golf course as far as social media. I'm going to start using Instagram. I'm not the biggest social media tech guy in the world, but I have a lot of people that can help me, you know, with that. We're advertising on the radio, things like that. But and then some print, like with the Visitors Bureau, and and then like in the Frontiersmen when we get mentioned, things like that. But yeah, I think that's basically it. I wouldn't probably do any television because it's just so expensive, and we do get on the news a lot, and so that's nice. But yeah, I think that's probably that's pretty much what I'm doing.
I'll follow up. The borough has, in their grand scheme, they want to put a trail out that direction. Have they contacted you about, I mean, you
Public Works snow removal information, just in time. Also too, a couple things. City of Palmer, with the City of Wasilla on November 2nd, host an economic development summit at Evangelo's that was well attended. Tonight, you know, we've been talking about this the last couple meetings with the airport lights in the change that needs to be happened. Tonight you have Resolution 23030. We're probably about 75% of having the funding. Mr. Dementi will be talking about that when that comes up. So that is a huge stride for us. That's kind of a big deal. Also, too, myself and Mr. Dementi and Abby Austin, who is a director of the great Alaska Aviation Association, has already met, starting to plan for the 2024 Great Aviation Gathering, which is a big deal for Palmer. We're also starting to engage about the potential opportunity for the Aviation Association to invest in the city of Palmer Airport, to have headquarters there to really kind of assist with development, training, education, that sort of thing. So there might be a real opportunity to have them here and cement City of Palmer for the association. That would be really big for us. Also, too, today, myself and Mr. Hanson met with the Mat-Su Borough on our comprehensive update plan. We spent close to an hour and a half to 2 hours with them, talking about how Palmer should be the apple of their eye, and they agreed, I believe, that we should be. I have been asked to sit on a presentation panel at AML, which is coming up beginning of December, regarding housing. I'll be working with Valley Regional Residential Services Director and Principal John Weaver on their success and what impact they've had in our community and what programs that we were able to really kind of help with the housing. Recently, I met with Marie Gardner. She is a new Mat-Su College director. I would like to encourage, and I can certainly make the contact of having her come present to the city of Palmer to Mat-Su College. They are a big asset for our community and education, and she is a new director replacing Talis Kohlberg, who served many years for us. Tomorrow, very important, 4 to 7, Depot, be there. It's a library project. Next steps, that will be open forum for that. We're getting closer to getting all the input the city council needs to make the perfect decision for this legacy project. And Thursday, we have myself and I think the mayor is going to be attending the mayor's managers meeting that's going to be hosted in the Matsu Borough. So we don't have to drive in any treacherous conditions. We're right here to be able to do that. And that is all I have for this evening.
All right. Council have any questions for the manager? Councilman Cooper.
Thank you. This is maybe just a rhetorical question, but I'm a little concerned about the snow removal. I know we were off on Friday. Did any of our snow removal people work over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? And and I see you just letting me know that yes, they did, and where in fact did they work? I'm a little concerned as I drove, and I have to say that the downtown streets look really nice right now. This weekend, pardon my friend, they look like crap. People cannot walk on the sidewalks. They're walking in the street, made it very dangerous. I was a little concerned that we weren't out, doing that earlier.
So Mayor, would it be appropriate to have Mr. Billafer come forward, or is that a rhetorical question?
No,
Oh, I think that would be good. We could have,
I'd appreciate him come forward.
hey Jude, come on down. And I will say, I might have sent a text to the manager this morning asking him,
Mr. Mayor, council members, Jude Billafer. Yes, it's, Councilmember Cooper, 9.5 hours on Friday, crews were in, of which, again, the city only has 3 equipment operators. I had 2 of those dedicated at the airport, because the airport we had not opened yet, and 1 was still downtown, or in town clearing. As for the sidewalks, we know it's an issue. The snow was so heavy that the city's sidewalk machine does not work, nor do the city's small plow trucks. They cannot plow the sidewalks. We have tried. It takes the grader to clear the sidewalks, and as you've seen downtown, that's what we have to do. To get the sidewalks looking like that is a grader. Just to share with you the time involved right now. Normally, when we pull snow from sidewalks in downtown to turn it into the condition you see right now, on an 8-hour day, we can do all of Alaska Street, Cobb Street, Evergreen, and Fireweed. Today, we were successful in getting Evergreen, half of Alaska Street, and 2 side streets, because we took double the amount of time for a grader to pull the snow off the sidewalk. What we could normally do in 1 or 2 passes took 4 passes today. The crews were in. We had our grader operators in this morning at 3:30. The snowblower crew was in at 4, and then all the dump trucks were lined up ready to go, of which we had 5. And we are doing the same thing starting tomorrow. Said the grader crews will be in at 3:30, and then snowblower. Again, our challenge is we have 3 operators. So when I take someone out of a grader to put them in a blower, now I'm down a grader. And it's just a function. It's been very challenging for us right now because we lost 2 grader operators. So one was a longtime winter seasonal employee who was very dedicated for the city of Palmer. He finally retired. We also lost a full-time grader operator, but we filled that position 2 weeks ago. So we are challenged at the moment, but the crew is very committed and they are out there for many, many hours. The second part of your question, no, I did not have anybody work Saturday and Sunday. And that was a decision I made for the crew because as I mentioned, we were in here 9.5 hours on Friday, which was a city holiday. We will continue and strive to keep our city looking great. And the crews do a great job. And I would just say if you've driven in Anchorage or Wasilla or some of the Matsu Borough roads, you can probably attest to that as well. And I said, it's just slow right now because of that weight of that snow 1 week ago. Just, our graders were being kicked sideways when we were going around some of our corners. We are fortunate that we did not have wind. So we, as mentioned, we're slow, and one issue I'll just share, we were a little slow getting onto the northern part of town, specifically the Cedar Hills area. We had a grader break, and it took our mechanic a day and a half. He's just amazing. He fabricated a piece to fix the grader wing. Took him, as I said, a day and a half, and got our crew back into that area. And you know, all I can do is apologize that it's taken us a little bit longer, but we will get there, and the crews are doing everything they can.
Councilwoman Boleen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jude, thank you. I know it was probably rough because, as per usual, I had multiple IMs as well as text messages and phone calls. I will say that the business owners were really appreciative of your consulting with them and the conversations that you've had with them. So I think that that does wonders in helping to kind of alleviate, even though I know that it is a source of frustration for them because they are, you know, business is down right now. A lot of them are, I don't want to say suffering, but it's a huge concern when you have snow disruption. I think that you probably already have a plan for this, but just for the sake of asking, do we have multiple people, maybe perhaps that you have in your arsenal of list that you could probably call in a pinch, or that might not be interested in full-time but are greater qualified? I know that Mr. Musi, I've just handed him a couple names as well. But do you have an ongoing list where you can refer to some of those people who might be able to
used
bust
to.
out a grader?
We do not any longer. But what we have done is we have reached out to former employees, and we are actually bringing back one individual. I think he did his drug test today, who will be on as a seasonal winter employee, and he's very qualified with the grader and the loader. So I think he will be, I love your word, our arsenal, starting next Monday. It just takes time for the drug tests and the processing, and the HR folks are doing a great job trying to expedite, but we can only go as fast as the tests go. As mentioned, we do have our third grader operator full-time now as of 2 weeks ago, and then once we get this individual on maybe next week, that significantly helps, because then I can put that individual in one of the big plow trucks, which is a big plow on a dump truck. So now we can spend time clearing frontage roads and things like that. And I don't need to have a grader there. I can get the grader into the subdivision areas.
Councilman Best.
Yeah, along that same line, apologies if kind of going down a path that won't work. But I mean, could we just have simply contract operators that, and you have a list of them, and you say you got 10 of them on this list of approved contract operators that can jump into any equipment, and you just give them a holler, hey, you available, we need people. Nope, no, you go down to the next one. Is that something that would be more beneficial than having to run through the employment, onboarding, all that kind of stuff? It would just be contract based. And
we have tried, great question. We have reached out to all of the local folks who we know of. And if they have a qualified grader operator, they are working with one of the bigger companies. So, for example, like McKenna Brothers has a significant workforce, but they also have a significant responsibility and role for the Matsu Borough. We have tried. We have not had any takers. It just, there's more opportunity with those bigger companies, especially as the way the winters have gone the last 2 years. Any of those large firms have the available talent in their pool. That it just, it's not there for us to draw it. And we have tried. I have reached out personally to the owners of 5 different companies, I think, to see if there was a way we could even coordinate, and if they weren't plowing, but they're plowing the same time we're plowing. Yeah. It's our big challenge. The guys they're gonna have to train me eventually. It's just gonna come down to it. I might start with a little itty bitty mini skid steer, and you might see me only at the library parking lot, but, it might come down to that. Yeah, I do. And I have been in the plow truck, and I have been in the skid steer. It's, whatever we can do.
Well, thank you, Mr. Billefer. Anything else, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Any other questions for the manager? Okay. Next is the mayor's report. I don't know, I'm getting longer and longer. I think I'm up to 5 pages now. Actually, today we had a MVP for transportation meeting. The latest I heard is the paperwork was all submitted to the state, and the rumor we heard was that it made it through legal. And now it's sitting on a commissioner's desk before it goes to the governor. So, and
Mr. Mayor?
yes,
That's
Councilman Best.
That's on the boroughs submitted format, but have they commented back on our hours that we've asked for certain provisions?
Not that I know of, and I haven't tried reaching out. Mr. Manager, do you have any other info?
Yeah, but before city council did approve and did the switch, the plan is to take our resolution, the borough's resolution, Wasilla's resolution, and the other two native corporations, package them up together, so it just wasn't, this is what the borough wants and says, our information has been submitted that you approved at city council table.
And yeah, it was a long meeting. There's a lot involved with the feds. We'll just put it that way. And as the manager mentioned, tomorrow is another public input meeting at the depot from 4 to 7. I'm encouraged. The prior meeting I was at, it was all colored bubbles and showing concepts, et cetera. And this one actually looked like buildings, so I'm encouraged. But still lots of choices at this point. And it's budget time. I believe next meeting, November 28th, Chief Chad will be. Councilman Best.
It's not a question, but it's maybe a thought that I can pass on to you. This last winter, we had a lot of snow, and I happen to live in a daylight basement where the window has a little bit of a kind of a little cubby that gets filled up with snow, and then it would get really deep, and that's also the emergency egress. So
Yeah.
for Chief Chad's presentation, when he comes up before us, that's something that I would like to potentially talk about, is maybe that's part of our fire department kind of overseeing and working with the Brad's department as well. If we know of these daylight basement stuff, that we can encourage folks to make sure to clear out those emergency egress situations, especially the elderly. That could be a real problem. That's something that's going to be ongoing with wind once they pick up on the snow, that we need to be more mindful of, because there was a lot of situations with carbon monoxide and other emergency situations due to the snow impact. If we can make sure that that goes in there, it's maybe something that we can talk about at least.
Yeah, maybe even the Explorer Scouts could help out, et cetera. Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, I want to say thank you again for this written report, and please don't apologize for your 5-page report, because when I read those, it probably saves me from doing things like looking at a 116-page packet from other sources. So I appreciate everything that you're doing and your written reports, and you and the Deputy Mayor Anzalotti have definitely been busy, and thanks for putting it in writing.
I will mention I included the reference so you could look up the 116-page report in case you wanted to read it. Any other questions? Okay, next is City Clerk's report.
I am looking for nominations for the Golden Heart Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'll need some nominations from the council in December. So just send me an email or stop by with a name or two. That's all I have, unless there's questions.
Might send us, have your deputy send all of the council maybe the summary page that reminds them what it is.
Oh, what the word is?
Well, what's the,
The code
Go-
reference?
yeah. Okay. Any questions of the clerk? Councilman Best?
I would also, if she's going to email that out, have a list of who has received it before.
Yes.
Yeah, we got that too. Okay.
All right, city attorney's report.
Good evening. I have just a couple items. I've been working through the library policy summary and then coordinating with the clerk. We anticipate that should be on the agenda so I can do a presentation to the council on January 23rd. I'm also been working with the manager and the police chief to update Palmer Municipal Code 614, the code that has to do with animal bites and animal classifications regarding vicious and dangerous and so forth, and the corresponding fees we have. So I want to look at some updating that quite a bit. And that's pretty much it for me, other than administrative stuff.
Any questions of our attorney from the council? Councilman Best?
Thank you. Could we ask could I get council support to have the attorney look into animal waste? What our laws are on our books right now for animal waste? There has been a couple of citizens in Palmer that have had neighbors who have large dogs or lots of dogs and a buildup of animal waste, and it becomes to be very aromatic, and a little concerned about it. So I'd just like to see what our current regulations stipulate.
Madam Attorney, would that dovetail with the animal control research you're doing, or?
Yes, I believe so. One of the things that I just wanted to look at for the animal bites is different incidents potentially may arise, is what our current classifications are, what the Alaska Supreme Court and Alaska case law has said, and how other cities are handling it, and if we need to add some more teeth to stages of fines or teeth in general to some of our code. Animal teeth, yeah. No pun intended.
Any other questions of the attorney? All right. Next, we have audience participation. Council meeting rules protect your right to testify and be heard even if others in the room disagree with you. Council meeting rules also ensure that those attending can express their views if they do not interfere with the rights of others to see and hear the proceedings. At all times, order and decorum will be maintained in keeping with the dignity of the legislative process. And of course, the views and opinions expressed may not be those of the city. So please sign in and start off by stating your name, and you have 3 minutes. Audience participation's open.
Mayor of Palmer and City Council, my name is Jackie Goforth. Thank you so much for allowing me the time to speak with you tonight. I would like to speak to you about the library and about the policy for reconsiderations of books when you open up a book and you are absolutely horrified at what you find. Now, the first thing you can expect is obfuscation, if not downright lying. And the reason I bring that up, I may have given Shelley my speech. The reason I bring that up, I give you my speech.
I don't know. Is it the front, bottom?
It's one piece.
I don't
Oh, I guess I have to wait.
wing it.
The first thing you can expect is if you write to the library and you say, on March 9th, I've searched the Palmer org site and I have thus far been unsuccessful at finding a form to challenge books carried by the Palmer Library. Please provide me with information on the form and the procedure to proceed with the challenge. Much appreciated. You will get no answer. But then when you send that again the next day and you say, my second request, you will get no answer. But then on Monday when you get on there to send it, you will see, please submit a formal records request with the City of Palmer clerk. There's no policy? Please submit a request? Okay, well, that didn't happen because the book came down. I didn't have to request it. But then when the book came back up after the ALA, American Library Association conference in Fairbanks, the book went back online for being available. I immediately came down to find out what the correct procedure was, and I got the correct procedure. And the correct procedure is you have to first see and talk to the librarian. Now, why on earth didn't they know that on March 9th, 10th, 13th? So, the next thing you get is the runaround while you're trying to set up a meeting. It took me 3 times of visiting the Palmer Library in person to finally set up a meeting. The next step when I was meeting with the librarian is they pay 0 attention to what you're saying. In fact, and I have a witness, the first thing they say is, I suppose you're just here for the form. No, I wasn't there for the form. I was there to explain the situation and why this book I found so heinous. And then they give you a packet. And on this packet, you finally get a form to send in. And the form, I have a copy of it, but this isn't the official one. The official one is actually embossed. You only get 1 embossed form. Now, you have to send the embossed form in, otherwise it's not going to get accepted. But then you worry that what if it gets lost in the mail? So you send emails and say, did you get the form? So yes, you get that. But the next thing you can expect is a cookie-cutter response in the negative. So then the next thing you can do is appeal it. And you can appeal it with 500 pages of peer-reviewed documentation of why this material, it meets the criteria for the Miller-Ginsburg test. And what will happen is you will get a hearing scheduled, and the hearing in Palmer is closed. It's closed to the public. Now, if you have seen the Miller-Ginsburg test, 2 of those, I know I'm out of time. I will speak to this with the rest of it. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members, attorneys. My name is Karen Lewis, and I'm here talking about the same thing Jackie just did, which are these books. I mean, Palmer's beautiful. We talked about our amazing athlete earlier, and the lady talked about the greeting center, the visitor center, and the golf course, all lovely things. Now, I used to think libraries were safe places. That's how naive I am. I didn't realize it until I looked at some of these books, and I've said a few of the excerpts, which I could tell, I mean, had eyes like this. And these books are shelved for 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, which they call young adults. So, I mean, the whole thing is deceptive. Our libraries need to be safe places. We should not have this filth accessible to our children. It's unacceptable. It's evil, is what it is. There's one book at the Palmer Library called Flamer. This is the one, I think I told you, the example of the young boys sitting in a circle and they're going to play a game and they're going to masturbate into a bottle. And if you refuse to do that, then you have to drink it. Now this is, I mean, if it was just normal, sex education, that's fine. But this is obscene, twisted, demonic things. A little 9-year-old being sexually molested by her father, and it goes into graphic detail about white stuff on her hands, or teenage prostitutes, and these 2 girls that are stripping, and they get paid $100 to do these horrible things to each other. I mean, this is for the minds and the eyes of 14, 15, 16. I know I wasn't ready for that stuff. I'm still not ready for it. It really hacks me off to see stuff like that because it is demonic. And what scares me is our librarians all think it's okay. The library committees all think it's okay. I'm shocked, stunned to see that people walking among us in our beautiful community think that these things are okay. So I'm here asking you all to gather up some decent people that have morals, because I question the morals of these librarians and these library committees. I seriously do. They do not have good morals to think that pornography is good for children. So we need people who can tell the difference and who will tell the difference and who will not allow this filth to be shelved in our libraries. You would be responsible for the Palmer Library. The school board has gotten a committee that does it for them, and they've just started working that. The borough, we're gonna do the same thing. The borough libraries, there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of filth in our libraries. We have to stop this. We have a beautiful, beautiful little community. So let's clean that up, because they're a bunch of, they're vipers. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Travis, and I live in Palmer, and I'm going to cleanse your mind right now. Cleanse. Yeah, I have some ideas that is worth exploring into. So bear with me. One idea is edible landscaping. I'm into gardening, and I like to grow things. What I like is growing plants that are edible. I know that we like to put decorative plants around the city, and you already had community gardens near the rail tracks. What trouble is it to plant raspberry or blueberry plants, and apple trees or cherry trees? I don't see any, and neither should you for that matter. Just throwing that idea out there for more people to hear. Okay, now, I know that it's not the appropriate season, but I like to encourage you to look in putting more sidewalks along the Glen Highway and other busy roads such as Fishhook, Bogarts, Selden. You get the idea. Because biker lives matter, and I'll bring this up again once the snow melts. And speaking of which, I would like to bring back the snow maze that was there around COVID season back in the day at the fairgrounds. I would like to see the fairgrounds to be put to good use when it's not in use during fair time. And with the maze, why not have a sculpture building contest with the snow? I mean, we have plenty of snow, and it's not going to go anywhere soon.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
To feel comfortable in front of city council. So Mr. Dementi, would you come up and address the questions before the public hearing?
We're going to go into public hearing. I just want there to be enough information so people know what we're talking about. And the resolution left the amount of money out.
Mr. Mayor, City Council.
Yes.
The amount of money that I am asking for is, or the remainder of the budgeted item is $82,500.
Okay.
Where's that coming from?
Yeah, what I'm asking for is for it to be reallocated. The original purpose for this money was, it started out as $88,000 to be included as an option for the current construction going out on the runway. And the option was to install head bolt heaters on the newly constructed Apron E, which is still under construction.
And this is for LED fixtures that are now required.
Well, what it was at that point, it was for head bolt heaters for aircraft to be plugged in. The FAA stepped in March of this year and decided they would
But do we have an idea? Thanks.
Welcome back.
I have a quote in front of me right now for $105,013 to replace all the lights at the airport. This is, right now, we're still working with our consultants and making sure these are the proper lights to be installed.
Councilman Arcantara?
So it sounds to me that later on we'll be authorizing another 20 to 25,000 to cover that differential.
This is going to be included in a capital improvement project funded by a grant with the FAA. And there is going to be an expectation for the city to contribute to that grant. And my hope is that with the overall cost of that project, that we'll be refunded part of this money. It's I'm meeting with the FAA next week, hopefully to get authorized to spend this money. If the FAA doesn't authorize to spend it, I think we revisit. But we need to be authorized before we spend this money.
Thank you.
Councilman Tudor?
Thanks, Mayor. Just kind of a question about that, and we're just not replacing the bulbs, right? This actual new fixtures as well. It's like the entire, the installation, it's not just a bulb question, is that correct?
That's correct. It's the fixture starting from the surface of the surface to the light bulb.
Okay.
It's a fixture. There's a can that sits underneath it, and there's other parts that would be included in the capital improvement project.
And if I could ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, Councilman Tudor.
And just to clarify, so would these monies be able to finish the rest of the project? Was that what you were saying, was the FAA is expected to cover the rest of it? Because the total was $105,000 total, but, sorry, just want to make sure I'm understanding that right.
Yes, sir. That's the fixtures. The total number of fixtures at the airport would be 105,000. With what we're hoping to accomplish with the FAA is going to be a much larger project.
Okay.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you.
Just like to clarify with this the equipment and staff forces are going to be doing the installations. Is that still correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So we save money there by DIYing it.
Great, thanks.
The hope is also that we can get some of that reimbursed as well.
Councilman Cooper?
Thank you, Mayor. Just kind of a follow-up on that. We received 93% from the feds on the first project. Do we expect to get an equivalent amount from the feds for this project and, and a larger project that you have planned?
That's my expectation, but I can't answer that question for you right now. I'll find that out.
All right, thank you.
Our attorney.
I just wanted to jump in for clarification's sake. This is the requirement of the FAA for replacing the lights, right? If you remember, you had mentioned that this is, the lights have to be done. It's a FAA mandate, and there's no choice for the city to do that.
What we're running into right now, we have an obligation to light the airport. And what we're running into, as we've explained, as Mr. Moosey's explained, I believe over the last few meetings, is that we're having a hard time getting quality bulbs. We can put a bulb in a fixture and watch it die. And the light bulbs are not lasting. So it's part of our grant obligations, grant assurances, that we keep the airport lit. And if we can't find the light bulbs to do that, it just gets harder and harder as time goes on.
Councilmember Moline?
Thanks. But I think to our attorney's point is that if I remember a few meetings ago, Mr. Moosey, maybe you can clarify that this was an actual requirement because this is an outdated bulb, a type of bulb, and that is no longer being allowed. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So it's required of federal government that we cannot acquire, purchase, take, steal from anybody else. And we just have a small supply. So once that supply is gone, then our airport goes dark. So this is the option that is permitted to do so. And John and Jude have been working to find a fund. So this is big.
Back for, back into the budget, because you guys donated the ice time effectively?
That is
Is that
correct.
what's happening?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Best? I saw a light, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so if we've done this before, we've donated, but then that didn't come out of our donation amount. So I would say, yes, let's donate it. It'll still have the 1,500 in this account so that we can still give it out to somebody else. We're just basically waiving.
Mr. Manager?
So that is correct. However, we have been implored
Inside that grant cycle, you don't get the grant. So I'm just wondering if we should say, between, pick a date, January and March, whatever it is, if you have a program coming up during the course of the year, let us know, and then we can get it all at one time. Thank you.
if that's the direction of city council, I'm happy to do so. But many times, there'll be somebody, a city council person will hear of a great program, they'll say, how can I help? City council brings it to my attention that, hey, they need to apply. And so there's gonna be less flexibility for city council. I am happy to put that parameters. Is that what you want?
Okay, Councilman Best, I think you were next in line.
Thank you. And I appreciate the conversation. And this really is kind of going outside of the grant that we're actually talking about right now, but the process itself. And I think that we need to have another discussion of the process. But kind of rolling back history a little bit, many years ago, when we had set this program up, I had suggested that we did it quarterly. And we would avail 1 quarter to be utilized within that 3-month period, and then it would carry over. And everybody kind of poo-pooed that because, they wanted access to, well, if we get a whole bunch of people, it's like, well, but if we quarter it, then it actually, everybody knows that 1 quarter of the money is available for the next 3 months. We're able to go out there and kind of promote it a little bit, encourage people to get their stuff in, and then it kicks in the cycle. And so I think that that is a great suggestion. I would like to have that discussion later on. Thank you.
Councilwoman Moline.
Oh, sorry. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to point out that already in the application process, there's a please allow at least 6 weeks lead time for application review and city council agenda scheduling. This particular fantastic event, they missed that piece by about a week. They submitted it October 6th, so about 5 weeks ahead of time. Didn't mean to create a firestorm. I mean, I actually think it's a good thing that the city manager can say, hey, you missed it by a week, but this is a good event. Let's try to make this happen. So I think it's important. I think what Councilmember Best suggested sounds like a good idea, but I didn't mean to belabor it when they were just a few days late. Thank you.
So concerning this grant, are we ready to vote? Mr. Manager, yes?
Just so we know, clarify, is this a community council grant or is this waive $1,500 from the MTA Center? I think that would be good for the record so we know what we're doing in this regard. Please.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Best.
I have no problem it going through the way that they originally presented it. They would roll back, out of our account so that it's being looked at so that we can track the numbers and show that we're at zero now and all that kind of stuff. But I think a discussion later on about the policy of how we go about this might be different.
Okay, so we're considering this a grant, correct? Okay, so that's what we're going to vote on, is whether to approve it as a grant. All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes?
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes?
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
And the clerks can remind me to bring up a discussion point for January. Next we have, where did my agenda go? Action memorandum number 23-064, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with BSI Bob Services LLC for the purchase of 6 dumpsters in the amount of $35,652.
Move to approve.
It's been moved
Second?
and seconded by Councilman Tudor. Any discussion or questions from council? Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question. I know it says here, or I guess I have a couple questions. One is that we need 8 dumpsters, but this is only for 6. I was a little curious about that. And then, what are these just dumpsters used for the city trash collection? Or when it's gonna come from like an enterprise fund, or is this for city buildings and internal use? I wasn't sure.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
Councilmember Tudor, it is for 6 8-yard dumpsters.
Oh, okay.
So that is the size that is 8 yards.
Oh, okay.
And these are replacing just worn out dumpsters. So we service our commercial routes. We provide the dumpster. And so we have our larger dumpsters, which this is our largest one. There are several that the bottoms are completely rusted out and desperately need replacing.
Oh, okay. So just to clarify, these get rented out basically?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Seems like it would almost be a good place to add in a few recycling bins to go along with these things. But The other comment I would make is forest green instead of Palmer blue. I don't know. I'm not hip on that, but I guess that's a standard one size color. But, and in all seriousness about the recycling, I'm gonna be coming forward, with at least, let's try to figure out an idea that we can make recycling work this next, spring and summer. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes?
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Action memorandum number 23-065, authorizing the city manager to negotiate a contract with Graham Industrial Coating LLC in the amount of $35,956 for preparation installation of a lining system in both channels of the UV building at the wastewater treatment plant. Wishes of the council?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Best and seconded by Councilman Moline. Is there any questions or comments from the council? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalati.
Yes.
All right, unanimous. Action memorandum number 23-066, authorizing utility connection for a single-family home located at 1430 South Irwin Road, Palmer, Alaska. What's the wishes of the council?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments from the council? Councilman Best.
Irwin Road.
I see one council member looking at the map and the other one turns his light on.
Is that the
Roughly,
loop
where
just
is this, Mr.
north of
Manager?
Brittany Estates?
It is northwest.
Yeah, it's just past,
Yeah, that's the one that's got the, yeah.
it's just past the Felton subdivision.
actually the outside of the city limits. It's right there just north of Brittany Estates.
Oh, that's the old librarian's house.
Yeah.
It's the old librarian's house, okay. All right, any other questions or comments for?
Mayor's got a
It's got a reef on the front door. Just figuring out if it's Peaceable Kingdom or the other old house.
No other questions or comments from the council? All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Missed that one.
Okay, action memorandum number 23-068, authorizing the city manager to enter into a one-year agreement to purchase healthcare insurance coverage with Primera through the city's health insurance broker, USI, for insurance coverage for the period of January 1, 2024 to December 31, 2024. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments from the council? Councilman Alcantra.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Musi, there are 15, give or take, employees that do not participate in the health plan? I see a total employee count of 60 people, and I'm just thinking that didn't jive with what I thought the employee count.
Mr. Manager, how would you like to address this?
Sure.
You'll have to apologize for Kimberly. She has a thrash metal band that she works on at night, on
I was
weekends.
singing last night, yeah, okay.
Thanks, Kimberly.
We do have a number of, see, no, I can't do that. We do have a number of employees, including myself. My husband's retired military, so I am not on the insurance, and we have several employees that are like that.
Okay. Councilman Cooper.
I think I've asked this question before, thank you, Mayor. We used to be in a consortium, if you will. Are we not in that? And is there any movement forward to try to get in with, whether it's at Anchorage or anywhere else, because there are safety in numbers? I don't know where we're going with that at all.
So we used to be in the consortium, we used to be in Hewitt. Over the years, our last year that we were in Hewitt was in 2019. It became to the point where it was just us and another city, and we were bearing the full brunt of the increases into the premiums. That's when we went with Primera and became fully insured. We have looked at joining the AMLJ consortium or trust group. The rates are not competitive with what we are getting. For example, for this year, our renewal premium increase was 4%. We're not going to be able to get that with the group.
Okay, thank you.
You're not going to get that anywhere. Yeah. You lucked out.
We do.
Is there any other questions or comments from the council? Thank you very much, Kim.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think we're ready to vote. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous, okay. That finishes AM's up. We have unfinished business, which is essentially the budget. Do we want to take a break before we jump into some discussion? Okay, let's take a 7-minute break or so.
How you doing? Yeah, how you been? Good. Made it back to the new full council already. Oh, really? I didn't know. I'm back in town for a while. I think it's really days. You know, I don't have a section. Like if you article, you know, where everybody's like, oh my God. Oh. I just assumed we were full or something. Oh. Great. That's why, to me, that's you are, right? Yeah. And I know you are.
What? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, should we take a vote about whether we're done for the night or not?
You're back on.
Oh, the recorder's going? We're just, oh no, Alcantar's getting warmed up. Okay. Let's see, how many council people we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, we have a quorum. All right, we're back in session. This is what happens when you go 2 hours and everyone thinks, we're done, man. We don't do anything more than 2 hours. Okay, Jude. It's easier to correct you than to, correct Councilman Cooper. Okay. So we have unfinished business, which is essentially the budget. I guess what, we plow through each one at a time?
You're not.
I don't know, I mean, we haven't done committee of the whole on this agenda, so shall I just start with the first one and go?
I have a question. Can we move
Yes.
can I request that we move into
Committee of the whole?
committee of the whole? Is
Madam
that
Clerk, can we
authorized?
do that?
What's the difference?
Huh?
What's the difference? You're gonna discuss each item. You want a more relaxed atmosphere, is that what you're asking for?
Yes, I think so. I think you want it.
Yes.
Yes, relax the rules.
Okay, so we'll relax the rules, so we're like a committee of the whole.
Thank you.
Councilman Cooper.
Oh, no, that was just for that. I
Your-
will
your
start
light is
out.
on.
We're gonna start it on pay plan. The comment I have on that is, I, and I'm sure the rest of the council members have received numerous correspondence from a lot of the city employees, and I'm wondering if we should rethink this plan, if we should get a committee together and get employees to actually talk to us and see where, in fact, what the concern is. I mean, a number of times that I've been involved in the pay plan. We've never had this much discussion from the employees before, so I'm a little concerned that we just would, that we're gonna move right ahead and pass it the way it is. So, open for discussion, obviously. Thank you.
Okay. Well, a couple things I'll say is, actually, for one thing, we have probably every department represented in the audience. So if we have questions about something about the budget, there's probably an expert, not that our manager's not an expert, but he's really good at pointing. So if we have any questions, there's people in the audience that can probably give us at least some decent answers. And just a reminder about the pay plan, the one that is in the budget is essentially the older one. The new one is not in the budget. It's a proposal that has not been, that's just proposed. So, Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would it be possible for us to get, I guess pricing information would be the best way to say that, depending on where we go with wages and the pay plan and how that would impact the 2024 budget? Like a projection kind of thing? Because I know a lot of the comments we got were, about pay, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with it, but, just to see how much that would impact the city's budget, with those various steps.
Mr. Manager?
So that one is pretty simple. So very limited impact on what you have in the budget. The substitution will increase the cost in a general fund, and just kind of looking, because they're different funds, a general fund, approximately 3% as proposed.
So the new pay plan would cost, basically make the 3% increase in the general fund. Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your indulgence, because I haven't let this be known yet, but I'm going to be gone on the 28th and hopefully phoning in, but I'll be in a town in East Texas like a third the size of Sutton, so I'm not super enthusiastic about how good that'll work. So like the other ones mentioned, there's been a lot of discussion and from folks, but also did a little research on my own, and I appreciate that a substitute plan may only increase a budget by about 3%, but I see positions in this new pay plan that, depending on where an individual is, at what level he or she may be at, that go as high as potentially a 29% increase, while I see other ones, if I'm reading it correctly, positions like admin assistants that would go from a level 5 back down to a level 4 that may only see increases in pay of about 6 cents per hour. And I hope that maybe they can tell me, hey, you're reading it wrong, but I've read a lot of contracts and scattergrams and different things in my tenure in life, and I hope I'm reading it wrong, but when I see an admin assistant currently level 5, step 4 at $22.11 an hour, and then being placed at a level 4, the next highest pay range would be a step 5 at $22.17 an hour. And I hope that's not the case, but those are just a couple things that jumped out at me. And the difference in level 4 is about a 4.2% difference. The difference in level 7 is about a 7.1% difference. The difference in level 11 is about an 18.7% difference. I see serious overweighting to jobs that are paid fairly well, maybe not paid as well as their compatriots in other communities, but leaving a lot of employees behind with more meager and sometimes even minuscule 0.2% pay raises versus one position that I looked into where I actually have it clocked out anywhere between 16.2 and 29.9, depending on what level the person is put at. So there's a lot of questions that I have, and so I hope to convince folks that we need to pump the brakes, and maybe a subcommittee type idea could be in order. Thank you.
Mr. Manager, I had a question or two. You've been around a couple of years at least. Did we do anything for any kind of increase the last couple of years for the employees, like either a COLA or did we do a bonus or?
The last 2 years, you did 3% increase for last 2 years, and then also in December, you gave a $1,000 one-time bonus to each of the employees.
So we did do a 3% the last 2 years?
Last 2 years, yes.
Okay. All right. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I brought this up last time, and I'm sorry I don't have all the rest of the information that Gina provided. A couple things. And I did mention last year the cost of living was 8.7%. And, you know, if the city only gave 3%, then, you know, shame on us, I think. But the other point that I have is that comment I made last meeting was that an average or a kind of a maybe comfortable cost of or salary that people have in Alaska is $57,000 plus dollars. That's kind of the bare minimum. And I'm not sure where all of our employees sit, but you go to level 7 all the way up to step 7, and they're making $56,000 a year. I'm a little concerned about that. You know, obviously, the higher up you go on the levels, the more they're making. But like I say, I'm not sure where the lower employees are by lower, I mean lower levels, where they all sit. And I'm concerned that we're only gonna, you know, we're only paying level 7 people less than what is considered a good cost of living in the state of Alaska. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
So before you go into details, if I could kind of do a summary of what we were directed to do and what the challenge has been since I have been here. So I think to a person going into this, city council, employees, staff has thought our current system is broken. Currently, the one you have in the budget. That has happened for a couple occurrences. Number one, we don't know where people got on those steps. There was no information on how that was done. Second thing, we had numerous employees saying, my job is more valuable than that job. How come it's paying the same for this? So I was directed by city council to look into this and come up with a plan. So what we did is we brought in an outside group who does this professionally. This is based upon what other communities have done, standard. And the foundation on that is 18 criteria and rated criteria on how each position was valued based upon the job description. The job description is important. Employees had the opportunity, or at least directors had the opportunity to look at the job descriptions. In some cases, that did not happen. The plan would be, since this is the basis of that, is to have a time where those evaluations can be relooked at and revisited. You know, I mean, different positions require different license. There's a difference between a high school degree and a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and what is required. How many, you know, are they supervisors? Are they not supervisors? So there is criteria. So one of the things is I've heard that the employees want to sit down and pretty much decide how they're going to fit in. I don't know of too many businesses, unless it's a union thing, where employees sit down and decide where they are. I knew this was going to be angst because we tried to keep the system similar, and some people are level 5, now they're going to level 4, but it's not based on them. And we did not say, and this is where I think my view, organizations and cities get in trouble is, I really like Sarah. Let's put Sarah here. I don't like Brad so much, so let's put Brad down here. We took all that out. This is a neutral party look at this. But please note, it's a system. It's a system based upon criteria and what the market is. It's a system. The system can be adjusted. My fear is if we start yanking this around based upon who we like, then we're back in trouble. Let's look at what the job requires and what the market is paying. One thing we found, and it's kind of surprising, I know, to anybody here, that the higher levels were underpaid compared to the lower levels. Now, how did that happen? First, one of the thoughts is, for years, the city council was not in a position to give cost of living. So there was not those step ups. In years past, and I think it was the first year here, maybe it's in second, instead of giving like 3%, we looked at a lower level and gave everybody $1. We added $1 as opposed to a percentage. So that kind of skewed it a little bit. This is not an easy thing. I think the system corrects. I think this is better for everybody long-term, because at the tail end of what we currently have is once you get past level 10, you get a raise. Then you got to wait a year, no raise. Then you get another raise. Then you have to wait 2 years and get another raise. This takes you all through every year till you get to the top. Also, too important to this is cost of living. Keep up with cost of living. So you move in steps, you move in cost of living. And it has to be managed every year. Like I said, it's a system. A system is not based upon personalities or people. It's based upon the criteria that we have. And I think it could be corrected. And Mr. Alcantara is right. For the substitute, we made a decision that nobody would be negatively hurt. So if you're on a 5 and go to a 4, and you're, like say, you're 5, tier 3, you're not going to go down to 4, tier 3. You're going to be at the closest positive way. So you're correct. Some people may get 6 cents based on this. Some people get $1. But we're finding in some of the positions, and we have police officers who are leaving for $10,000 to $15,000 a year. I don't want to talk about this. I'm going to say general position. I have one person extremely valuable to a department. We cannot find a second one like that person. They're finally taken care of. I have people with license that are needed to provide services for the city of Palmer. We keep losing them to Anchorage. We keep losing them to Wasilla. That is, for the system, that is corrected. Like I said, nobody is negative. And if you look at long-term, where you get down to A, B, C, D, and F, you get a raise, no raise. A raise, no raise, no raise. A raise, no raise, no raise, no raise. And they're going to be, in my opinion, better off with this plan where they are. The other criteria is it's based upon what the responsibilities are. And that is rooted in the job descriptions. My directors have talked to me about this. And I want to say nobody is thrilled with this. But I think it's better. So you need to know that. It's kind of like the IRS code. Everybody knows it's horrible, it's junk, it's broken, but nothing ever changes because guess what? Somebody may not be doing as good as someone else. So what you do is you compromise. So my thought for you is, my recommendation is do this plan. If you do not do this plan, just go with the current system and do what you will for cost of living and pay. This corrects those issues. Yes, it's a little, this report came, thank you for letting me ramble on, thank you, I appreciate that. This report came a little later. I was hoping to have it in the summer, but as you know, my tenure here is limited. I did not want to let this be an issue for the person that you want to put in my seat. I think that's very important. You may choose to say, John, this is garbage, we're not doing it. That's your decision, that's okay. But I did want to be, let's wankle this, and then the new person gets this. Like I said, I think it's a good system. It corrects what you want. There's nobody who's thrilled. I have people who are doing better and are disappointed because they thought this is going to result in a $10,000 immediate increase. and it's not. We can't afford that. I think annually, any system we do is going to cost about $500,000 a year throughout the borough, throughout the city, throughout the city. And we have to make sure we have corresponding revenue to cover that, or we're going to have to reduce positions. And that's just managing our operation. I'm willing to sit down and go through all this, but there are people who are doing in this thing for the first year going to be doing better than other folks. You can remedy that and saying, you know what, let's add 3% cost of living on this new proposal.
Since you mentioned us as the borough, it must be time to let someone else talk. Deputy Mayor Anzalotti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Musi, for clarifying that. From what I've heard, it sounds like this is a much-needed system for us, and that it definitely puts some standards in place that weren't there before. I would say the biggest concern I've heard from city employees is that it sounds like to them it hasn't been clarified if the directors of each department have been involved at all, or say like the library director as opposed to Mr. Hansen, or just someone that is able to give an accurate representation of each job description. I would say that's probably the biggest thing I've heard concern-wise, so.
Number one, that's correct. That is
You can
absolutely
speak
correct. This was not sit down and negotiate with the directors. This was, what are the job descriptions? These are the criteria, and it was sent to a neutral party. You have great directors, and you have great employees, and those directors fight like the dickens with me about their employees. They're going to want to get every cent that they can. And part of the issue we have with this is you find ways to do it, and then it upsets the system. Now, you may want to do that change, but I thought, let's do a neutral party proposal without, I really like Sarah, and let's bump Sarah up because she's great, and the guy sitting in the back row, well, he gives me a hard time, and he's spitting my tea.
Follow up if I may.
Yes.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
I guess it seems like what they're wondering is where is this job description coming from if it's not the department director? So I know it needs to be a neutral party as in not showing favor to one job over the other, but they want to make sure that each description is actually accurate for the job they're doing, and they're worried that someone from the outside doesn't actually see, what they do every day and how it applies to that description.
The job descriptions are coming from the directors if they took the opportunity to review them and submit them. So yes, nobody else is doing these job descriptions other than the directors who sent to HR, and then we forwarded this forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
And
That's what I
and I want to say, some of it have not been done. I know there's a couple that probably haven't been reviewed, or I shouldn't say reviewed, changed in 10 years.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, I'm curious to hear from the council now.
Can I add to this information?
Okay.
Yes, so positions reviewed. So as far as changes, 2019, there was 12, 2020, there's been 6, 2021, there's been 12, 2022 is 18, and 2023 is 19. So there has been an annual opportunity, in fact, there is pretty any time opportunity for that to make those adjustments. I think with some discussions, there's still an opportunity and a point to be made that, hey, look at those job description again, what's the requirements? And different requirements based on the system mean something. We're gonna most likely pay somebody who requires a bachelor's degree more than we're gonna need pay somebody who has a high school diploma based upon the requirements of the system. Also too, I want to say since I've been here, we really try to do a good job promoting within. We had a cashier who is now the comptroller here in the city and doing a fabulous job. I got somebody who was reading water meters who is now, leading a sub-department. We want to see people advance through this, and we have the opportunity for that. So it's not like, oh, I'm stuck at this forever. We want to see our own people advance. There's opportunities here. And so I think that, there's always been a springboard for that somebody's not going to be sutured into this position for 15, 20 years, unless they choose, they're satisfied with that position.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Kind of to follow up on the Deputy Mayor's comment. So I understand that the study revolved around or focused on job descriptions. The concern I have is the difference between job description and actual job duties or job responsibilities or what people are actually doing. So, you can have a job description that's like this, but you have duties that people are actually doing is like this. So that's a concern, that you can look at a job description and say, oh yeah, this is pretty good. But when you talk to the individual, you find out they're doing, 50% more than that. And I'm not sure that we actually discovered that.
That should be in a job description. That's what that purpose is for. This is your job duties, and this is what you're supposed to do. This is a requirement for the jobs. That should be in there, and it should be accurate. And that's the the criteria, and that job description is the basis. Other than we start picking, we like you, we don't like this person over here to make our basis on, and that's why the system gets out of whack pretty quick.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Councilman Cooper.
I think you're missing the point. The point isn't that what is written down is a job description. And, and everybody, the department heads have a job description and it lists A through F. This is what you're required to do. In reality, what you're finding out is the person's not doing A through F, they're doing A through Z. And we are not accounting for the additional work that these people might be doing that's outside of the written down job description. And I found that in a lot of different organizations that, people do more than what they're required to do.
Okay, Councilman Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Take this one last time here, just to kind of point out some things. First, I want to point out that I don't, blame or want to cast anything into Mr. Moosey. This is tough stuff. This is really tough stuff. And but I look at what Krupp did, and I do shake my head. I mean, we have a level that doesn't have anybody in it. That's an 8.2%, $1.12 difference in level 1. And then you go to level 5 from 1994 to 2082, you're only talking a 4.3% difference in a job class where we have a number of employees. So I say shoddy work on this system that enables some of these percentages to be in the 4s and some to be in the 18 to 29% range, depending on these new classifications. So it's a half-baked proposal at best, and not ready for prime time, in my opinion. And I thought that long before anybody ever emailed. Thank you.
Councilwoman Maleen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that this is a struggle. I've been through many of these. They are rough to go through. What's even rougher is a reclassification of your jobs. This is simply an assessment, and it sounds like the directors were given a requirement to fill out job descriptions, which by de facto are guardrails for the employees so that they're not left doing multiple, it's giving protection to those employees to a certain degree so that they're not doing 75% of only the description of 50% of what they actually should be doing. So in my mind, I'm a little concerned that I'm not trying to call out any directors, but if there was a deadline that was given and people were told or directors were told to get in their job descriptions, I'm a little concerned that that was not done, because that is protection for those employees afforded to be housed under certain specifications. The bottom line is that you can't not do these assessments and keep up with the expectations of talent pools, as well as making sure that you've got appropriate pay levels for and opportunity, lateral movements, opportunity within with your current talent pool. You can't stay stagnant for years without doing these assessments. So I guess that would be my question, without calling anybody out, is that what percentage of job descriptions weren't given? Do we have a fair assessment?
I'm going to be speaking for her.
Cooperative efforts.
Okay.
There were 6 jobs that were not updated. Superintendent Public Works was in 2012, solid waste. Utility works.
But we did have, going into this, we had 19.
Sorry, I just.
Yes, so last year we had 18 updates, this year we had 19. There are some that have not been updated since 2012. It was an opportunity for the directors, but this is not a one-time shot. We certainly could come, back, and we plan to do this once a year, to review those and update those. It's kind of, and I understand, if you don't want to do this, this is fine. And people are going to be upset no matter what. But the attempt was made. What is the criteria? How does this compare to other like communities? What are other communities paying based upon some type of criteria other than, I don't know how to deal with this thing that somebody, has 28 job performances, but they actually do 40, and so therefore outside agency judge on the 15 that you don't know about. It's hard to do any of that without some criteria, other than sitting down and allowing us to figure it out on our own. And that's, we're a small organization. If I'm a director and I'm sitting down picking between these 3, and I think she should get more than those 2 as a director, there's going to be some morale issues. And I think that's what we've had here in the morale issues. Before that we even did this, it's like, why am I on the same level as this person? I do so much more. Or why can't, why does it take me 3 years to get a raise when this guy can go over to Wasilla and get a $10,000 increase?
Exactly.
If we want to do subjective, I can do subjective. I tried to do this non-subjectively without personalities, based upon the criteria and job descriptions. The job descriptions, if they're not accurate, can be fixed. There's a plan to fix those.
To fix those.
There are other opportunities for our employees that we want to promote.
Okay, I guess one concern I would have is how many of the job descriptions are there that have not been touched in 4 years, 5 years? You've mentioned numbers that they've changed, but how many times did one get changed 4 years in a row? So I'm just wondering what's the percentage of how current our job descriptions are.
So we have approximately 66, and 19 got updated at this last event. 66
last
positions
year.
and 19 got updated for this time. 18 was a year before. And it was, we don't have an outside agency. We don't have Kimberly doing this. We have the directors doing this, who should understand the jobs and the needs that they have.
Okay. Councilmember Moline.
Well, that was my question. I apologize not for not turning this off, but I think that pretty much answers my questions. I just wanted to know how many. But to reiterate, we've got 66 positions, only 19 of those job descriptions were turned in at this point in time, but there is expectations that others will be coming in the future here. Is that correct?
I think it's off now. There you go.
I'm going to do my best. I'm sorry. So Title IV, which is our personnel code, requires that every year job descriptions are reviewed by the directors and then updated accordingly. So we're not going to have job descriptions that are updated every year. Realistically, they shouldn't be. A job description should be updated when there's substantial change to the job, either in the duties, the supervision. If the individual is very busy, that's not going to necessitate a job change. That's a workflow issue. That's a staffing issue. If a job has an additional duty that accumulates 25% or even 15% of that person's time, then that's when we look at doing the job updates. Now, as John had mentioned, we have 12 jobs that have not been updated since 2020. Okay, so every year I'm sending out multiple emails to the director. All the job descriptions are available not only on our recruitment website, but also 2 different drives for HR that's provided to the directors with update your job descriptions. If you're not going to update it, at least send me something back saying you're not updating it. And that way we have that check and balance. In addition, the directors are responsible for sitting down with the employees, or the supervisors are, when they're doing their evaluations. Even though we have people who do not get merit increases if they're in longevity, every year people are getting evaluations. That's the employee's time to go to the doctor or the supervisor and saying, hey, well, what about this? This isn't accounted for on my evaluation. Or this is something that I'm no longer doing. And we do get evaluations that come in and say, this on the specific line, this is not part of that individual's thing. So it's a collaborative process. As John had mentioned, we will have that opportunity next December, not this December, because we just went through the classification, but that next opportunity for individuals to go through and say, this is what's wrong with my job description, or this is what's right. We did send the evaluation out to the employees. If you recall from the October 24th meeting, the employees all were given an opportunity to evaluate their jobs. We had one, for example, in accounting who said, hey, I need a bachelor's degree to do my job. So I went to Gina and said, do they need a bachelor's degree to do this job? Gina said, no, they don't. This is the experience that they need. So there was that collaborative process that went through.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your explanation, Kimberly. So what I'm hearing basically for the public's clarification as well is this current pay plan that we have is outdated and loosely classified, and that what we're doing this year with the pay plan is something that has been needing to be done for a long time. And because of that, obviously some people aren't going to see a move in the direction they want. But long-term, this is going to be healthy for the city, and it's ultimately up to the directors and the employees to communicate and have the job description and classification that is needed in order to be where they should be on this pay plan. I don't know if I worded that very well, but okay.
That's correct. This is the first step. We have to start somewhere.
And it can be built upon.
And it can be built upon. Job descriptions can continue to be reevaluated. Pay plans can continue to be reevaluated. Cost of living can continue to be reevaluated. You know, for me personally, I know we're not talking about personal stuff. I think I'm getting an 8-cent raise. You know, this is not, I have no skin in the game on this. This is something that we need to make sure that we do for future, but also for liability reasons. Right now, we do not have anything. If we get a complaint from an employee saying they're being discriminated against based on age, race, gender, and we have employees that are similarly classified right now, but they shouldn't be, or people that are not classified properly that should be, EEOC could come in and say, well, what's your justification for this particular person being in this position? Show us, demonstrate to us, because the obligation's on us to say it's not based off a protected class. Now we have a quantitative method that says, this is why it has nothing to do with the individual.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the complaints that we had received, some of the comments from, was that that the employees felt that the research and the data was not presented to the employees. This information has been the same information that City Council had been receiving, correct?
The employees were not given specific information because code does not allow us to release personal salary or a variety of other information. It's in Chapter 2. If we provide information, then again, I'll use myself as an example. People will see specifically what I make. Code doesn't allow us to do that. So the report's not been made public for that reason.
And I think this is the point that I wanted to have you state that, because it was, that there's a belief that there's a lot of stuff that we're getting that they're not being brought into the loop on. And everything that we have gotten has been presented at council, and it's in our packets, and it's also readily available to the public. So I want to reassure the employees that there's not some information that we have that is being utilized to make these decisions. This is back to the independent report by an independent evaluator, that it hasn't been any one of us as employees or council members or directors that have had a lot of information that everybody else is aware of, or that we can legally give out. So this is a point that I wanted to really drive down, that there's not some information that we have. Thank you.
That's correct.
Mr. Mayor, may I address the council as an employee?
Sure. As long as you only speak to your situation.
Absolutely. So I don't agree with how the reclassification worked out, but I 100% agree that it is a good starting point. And I think that one flaw.
Sorry, even though your name's right on your chest, could you state your name?
John Privo.
Thank you.
I'm an employee with the fire department.
Okay.
Formerly with
Thank
Public
you.
Works. Here I am. So to speak to the job descriptions and the employee involvement with it, at the beginning of this reclassification study, all employees got a survey from the company saying, how accurate is your job description? How technical is your job? How much of this do you think you need for your job? How much of that do you think you need for your job? And a lot of employees are like, well, it's not gonna do any good, it's the city of Palmer, we don't get shit for pay. And it was hell for me to try and convince my coworkers that, hey, we gotta start somewhere. And if we don't put our input in there, we're not gonna have our input in there. And so there was requests from, in this whole process, of employees putting their 2 cents in. So I think that was awesome. I don't know how much feedback they got, because like I said, a lot of employees, it's not gonna do any good. We've been here before. They've done their salary studies and nothing changes. So, but there was requests for input. I think one other flaw is the way I understand it is it looks at the written job description. Well, my job description says I do this, 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 and that, and the duties of a firefighter. So in my job description, it doesn't say that I go into burning buildings. It doesn't say that I treat medically, volatile people. It just says duties of a firefighter. And so if it's just looking at my job description, it doesn't see, that last sentence adds another job description into it, or that kind of thing. So just some things to to point out about it. I do think I support that we are doing this. I don't think that the outcome is where it should be, but I also understand that we just need to update our job descriptions, throw it back into the system, and let it spit us out where we're at. So that's what I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess my general question, I guess probably to the manager or in general is I guess is the crux of the issue the classification studies, levels, or is it really about the pay? I keep coming back to this and I keep getting the feeling like the crux of the issue may be just it's like you mentioned with people going, what's the point? We're not going to get paid enough. Is that kind of what a lot of this is on the down under?
So John hit the nail on the head. I think this has been an issue for a long time, and I've been told numerous times it's not going to matter. We've done this before. There's been promises made and not delivered. Like I said earlier, I've had folks tell me that, they're disappointed even though it's a better thing for them because they thought they were immediately going to get a $10,000 to $12,000 raise. And it's like, that's not the system. So this is personal. We're talking about people's personal well-being. And I'll be honest with you, if I'm in a different role, I'm probably ticked too. Because even if, hey, it looks better in a long time, I used to be a 5. Now I'm a 4. How come I'm a 4? It's a similar system, based on that. And it's like, well, you're getting more money. But I used to be a 5, not a 4. This is the same thing for evaluations I had, especially over at the Matsu Borough, that we had, 5 categories, not the right terms, awful, needs improvement, average, exceeds expectation, extraordinary. Every single person I had to be extraordinary. It's like, you're not extraordinary. You're really good, but you're not extraordinary. And that 5 number meant the world to them. Sorry, Kimberly. After beating my head against the wall for 7 years, there's a lot of extraordinaries over at the Matsu Borough. Just because it was a higher number. So those things, also too, there has been, it's a small community, small group. People have compared over the years where they are compared to other folks. We've heard numerous complaints all the time that why am I the same as that person when I do so much more? There's going to be some comparison with where I am compared to where those people are because everybody knows. But bottom line, it's messing with people's pay whenever you do this. And that's the challenge. If you do anything to fix it, this is what's going to happen. And there's some people for the first year, this proposal, it's a proposal, is skinnier compared to some others. That's going to be, everybody got $1 last year. Everybody got $1 or 3% more. How come I'm 6 cents and Sarah is $1 and a nickel? That's not fair.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm okay with where this is at because of the process that we have gone through about that we're trying to do a professionalization of our structure, whereas it hadn't been because it was a little bit different 10 years ago here in Palmer. But I'm also mindful of situations like, the state troopers steal a lot of our employees. Anchorage steals a lot of our employees. Yeah, well, Anchorage School District is $98 million in the hole, and they wonder why. Right? Okay, so we can't continue to chase after everybody else who's peeing money in the hole and not getting anything out of it. So when I have folks saying that, we need to be paying more, you know what? We've got great employees. I appreciate it. We ask them to do more with less. I appreciate that. On the other hand, if private industry comes knocking or a better opportunity comes knocking, we'll write letters of recommendations, glowing. And that's me as a manager kind of person when I'm looking at the fiduciary responsibilities that we have, because we also don't want to have to jack up everybody's property taxes. We also don't want to have to implement a 5% sales tax on top of everything else. So it's not a zero sum where we can just go out there and just continue to spend away. So I'm the hard ass kind of guy that's going to have people torqued off because I'm not giving everybody a $10,000 raise. So, Mr. Manager, I appreciate your passion that you're trying to fight for the employees, and I hear for the employees and also hear that they have needs. I get that too. But we're trying to take out the emotions of all of this within your structure, and I appreciate that too. So I'm okay with us starting here, and then we can go forward and continue to build on that. We continue to build the professionalism within our employees and our structure, and then we let the cards fall where they may. And if people have other opportunities, God bless them.
So if we approve the new plan, the next chance to do a position description or whatever is what, a year away?
That is a proposal.
Okay. Councilman Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tried to bite my tongue, but how much did we pay Krupp? I'm not going to be lower 48 bash or anything, but I'm wondering how much you paid them for this.
$28,000.
Thank you.
The attorney wants to jump in. Oh, first, Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this may be a question that can't necessarily be answered in this public forum, but if we look at this new pay plan, it looks like there's a possibility are there anybody that's getting a lower pay from this classification study than they would if they stayed on the current one? Just trying to,
Yes. Let's take the position of executive secretary.
Yeah.
Somebody who's near and dear to my heart. I think at the tail end of each pay, if they got all the way at the end, there's probably a $2,000 less under the proposed versus a current. However, if that individual happens to be on a 7, they go to 8, 9, and 10, and then 11 through 15 each year. If they're on the current plan, they go to 10, and then they wait 2 years to go to 11, wait 2 years to go to 12, wait 2 years to go to 13, wait 2 more years to go to 14. Is it 3 years at the end, 15? Yeah, so you will get to the end quicker. Now, like I said, the system has to be managed every year, and you need to do cost of living, for that. So that person, although the tail end today, in my view, is $2,000 annually less, they're going to get to that tail end probably about 6 years sooner, which will mean more money every year as the system is proposed.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Attorney, since we've relaxed the rules, we can easily ask for your input.
Well, I just wanted to highlight from a liability standpoint the importance of us, whether you choose this or another classification system, we have to have a justifiable standard as to why each individual is where they are. And the fact that we have not had that before, I've updated you all on current litigation, which has been more than we've done in the past. And that's certainly a liability concern for me that without some sort of a classification standard established, it does open us up to potential concerns there. It makes it very difficult in the event that Kimberly does an incredible job as an HR, but should an accusation come forward and we don't have standards to explain why this is not susceptible to an EEOC claim, then we have to make up the justifications for it. So it's like getting an IRS audit without having standards to explain why you are where you are. So I just want to place that as a financial liability concern to the council.
Good point. keep wanting to say deputy mayor.
I know.
Councilwoman Moline.
I could have sworn you called me mom at one point tonight. I was like, whoa. That is just not right. But I will just say, just real quickly, I really appreciate you stating those facts, as well as that it just really legitimizes, it just completely legitimizes our play pan, not pen. As well as it just creates more opportunity. So and recruitment, I think, might actually be more welcome and easier with something like this. So I too am I am okay with this.
So do we want to talk about anything else? Are we?
In the budget in general?
Right.
Or just pay line?
Either way,
If we
it's
can-
not quite 9 o'clock.
If everybody's okay getting off this subject and going on to the other
just-
subject.
just-
Oh, yes,
Okay, so
Just,
Councilman
just one
Cooper.
more comment.
Sure.
It's actually going along with Councilman Moline's comment that, you know, I think this is a great start. I think it's an okay thing. I think the problem that the employees might have is that they don't have the information. They don't understand maybe the procedures that have gone on. And I think if you fill them with more information and more satisfaction, if you will, and they understand where they're going, that they're not losing money, that, yeah, you might be dropping a step, but you're actually going to be ideally making more money. I think if they have that information in hand, they'll feel a whole heck of a lot better than all of a sudden they're just saying, here's a pay plan, and they go like, oh my God, you know, I'm losing a step. But I think if they get information and understand where we're coming from and where we're going, I think they'll be better off. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Best.
Thank you. Well, we've had a recent snow event, so I'd like to kind of talk about our budget when it comes to upcoming snow events for this next year, and whether or not we need to make sure that we have a larger budgeted amount for snow removal this year, or different
For
opportunities.
24?
Yes, for this next year. And or is our plan that we go with it as presented, and if we need to go through a mid-year readjustment, that we just make sure that we have enough in our reserves to handle that? Would that be more of an explanation from the manager of how we're going to address
Mr.
this?
Manager, what's your comments?
So we think what's in the budget is accurate and will work. So this is really kind of question on the service level. So this event, somebody said it was record setting, at least for Anchorage. So do we gear up and have staff for the high events, or are we okay that it takes maybe 2 or 3 days to get through that? Because it's employees, it's equipment, and city council just probably spent what, $600,000-700,000 replacing needed equipment that worked. That equipment did not break this weekend. Older stuff did. But so you're looking potentially at more employees and more equipment. I'm happy to do so, but like a restaurant, and you know the staff's up, and you get 2 tour buses in with 90 people. You don't staff up every day for the 90 people, and you don't have that available. So that's a question I have for City Council: is what is acceptable in the expectations of City Council for what we have and what this event. I'm proud of our staff. I think we're doing the very best. It's going to cost more money to do more. And one thing we learned from this past year is we're not having help from anybody else. Last year we tried the borough, no go. We tried the state, no go. We called for the National Guard, no go. We looked at private contractors, no go. This is our capacity. The other thing would be is, let's say we get 2 more operators CDLs. Can we actually find them? Like you said, Mr. Best, there's people will pay a whole lot more than we can afford. Even if you did that. I mean, I have a mechanic position. We need 2. We cannot find a second mechanic. They're way too expensive, or they're not available. So the budget presented, I think we're doing our very best, living within our means. As manager, if you want to give us more, I will take it. But what are you trying to match? Is this past week, is it unacceptable to the city council, which would require us to get more equipment and more staff? Or how we're handling this, is this acceptable given the amount of snow in the situation that we're in? I've heard some very dissatisfaction, tonight. I've heard some dissatisfaction from our folks out there. What's the level of service that you want? We will deliver.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think that kind of, in a nutshell, gives me the information that I needed, because I wanted to know if you felt that it was best that we increase the budget for the snow within the Public Works, or if we go with it as presented, and then if there is a long winter upon us and it is more costly than what we're anticipating, that we would just do a mid-year review. And I think that that's kind of the process that I'm hearing. So I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that we have the reserves for it. So I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind.
We do. I am very comfortable with City Council. I think you support our operations. When there are extraordinary needs, you have not balked at that at all. It makes it real easy to manage, as opposed to manage a specific budget that we can't go over if we absolutely need it. Because my commitment to City Council is we spend the money we need. We don't spend money that we don't have to. And who knows, maybe last winter is a new normal for us. Then we may have to adjust in the future. I'm praying it's not the new normal.
Anything else from council at this point? We've maxed out our attention span.
Through the.
Well, we open it up, we relax the rules, so it's whatever your
I do have
microphone says, yeah.
A comment or a question of our legal folks. You mentioned that you are working on the bite schedule. Are you looking at other things? I mean, my last meeting that I was here, that we talked about the disparity between what I consider, you have a bite versus assault and battery. So I'm wondering if we're looking at all of those and trying to level them out, if you will.
I can certainly. Looking at the animal bite kind of classifications and the fees associated came up associated with a recent incident. And I began to look at our process being like, oh, this is interesting. We need a little more authority here. I actually have notes that you had mentioned that, and things to like, does the council would like to task me to do that in terms with summary. So I certainly can look at some of those pieces. Some of the, I walked away after my input on some of that is that even if there are arbitrary or random rules, particularly when it's a fine based from the police department, there is an Alaska statute that is stronger and more expensive per se that can put onto it. So if that's dismissed, then at least there's a city charge maintaining present being there. Now, whether or not we want to increase, certainly some initial complaints or people not following up. I mean, there's some things that it doesn't seem like $75 or even $100 or dollars is that much of a consequence for not obeying like a letter from the police for you need to register your animal. And it seems like we should probably increase those, and that's what I was looking at. But that is entirely up to the council. If you'd like me to evaluate, you know, the legal criminal-based charges and what would be more appropriate, I can certainly do that as well.
Now, are we talking animals at this point, or have we broadened the scope here?
I was specifically currently looking at animals. If you would like the scope broadened and the council would like me tasked with that, that would be at your discretion, of course.
No extra taskings until I get a list from you of all the tasks that you're working on right now. But that's something we could be looking at in January, yeah.
Sorry, was that a task that you wanted me to list all the tasks that I was looking at right now?
Yeah, you can give me a report. So, are we okay with going back to our agenda and, okay. So, do I have to hit the gavel to the laptop? No opposition to continuing on with the meeting? So there's no new business, record of items placed on the table. Madam Clerk.
Snow removal information from Public Works.
From Public Works, okay. Next, we have audience participation. We'll open audience participation. Please come forward, sign in if you haven't already. Start off by stating your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Eric Anderson. I live in Palmer. Snow removal. Obviously, not very many people are happy with what's going on. I don't want to say anything out of context to personally insult anybody personally. So these are my more harsher comments to myself. But one thing I noticed is on the first snowfall, Cedar Park subdivision was plowed ditch to ditch. All the 3 cul-de-sacs bulbs were cleared, and the rest of the neighborhood had one. The existing Cedar Hills had one strip of plowing down the middle, and then I guess the little wing broke off, and we haven't seen a plow since. I don't know if they've been back today. I'll find out later. But my point is, an uninhabited subdivision where nobody lives was the first road plowed in our neighborhood, and it was the nicest plowing within the city. Nobody up there is paying into the city coffers right now. Why is that happening? Also, with that being said, Cedar Park was given their own HOA for a septic maintenance agreement. Most of the times in mixed situations like this, those HOAs have gated entries and exits that the HOA provides for their tenants to keep the public out and to keep their own tenants. With that being said, it might be worthwhile to have a conversation with the developer to see if that's an intention. And if and that doesn't happen, maybe they could foot the bill for their own snow removal. When that's fully developed and there's 90 acres to plow, that's 5, 6, 7 more hours on the grader guy that's gonna be taxed that nobody's paying into. So it's something to think about. We had a loader out at the airport cleaning the airport during a snowstorm, so airplanes that don't fly during a snowstorm can land. Meanwhile, the rest of the city's not getting cleared. We had 3 people, or 3 of our CDL operators with the snowblower filling dump trucks. That's our 3 CDL operators. So they're taxed after 8, 9 hours. We got nobody for the next 18 or 16 hours. So nobody's running nights. Nobody's doing the stuff that most cities do. 24/7 snow removal to keep commerce going, keep people moving. And I tell you what, I feel sorry for anybody in this town that doesn't have a car, that uses the sidewalks or has a disability. Good luck. Airport lighting. We're gonna replace all the lights at the airport. We're gonna do it DIY in-house with personnel from the city of Palmer. But we require, and we're gonna do that without a certified licensed electrician on staff. But we require a CDL, how much experience, numerous years, and UA testing and other vesting to do snow removal equipment. So we got stuff we're putting in for a federal requirement that's not gonna be overseen by anybody licensed, but we require licenses for people to run a snowblower.
That's your time.
I don't get it. Thank you.
Anyone else for audience participation? Okay, we'll close audience participation. Council member comments. Councilwoman Moline, we'll start with you.
Lucky me. Well, I just think this was a pretty productive meeting tonight. I thank everybody for their attendance and all of our directors for your fabulous input. And I just look forward to getting through the real rash part of this. So, yeah, so that's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Ancelotti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also glad we had good discussion tonight. I think it's important, especially as Councilman Cooper was saying, I feel like a lot of the employees with the pay plan situation just don't know what's going on, no matter, whose fault is it, whatever. So I'm glad that we can talk about that and just make it more public, how that was implemented and everything. I think that's important. And I'm just really thankful for the people that reached out to us over email and just let us know their thoughts on it so that we can get their questions answered.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate our deputy mayor going to the Veterans Memorial this last week, showing the flag of Palmer and being there. Those are always great ways of expressing our care and how our community really holds the military. I really appreciate that. Also, we live in Alaska. Sometimes it snows and we get the most extreme of winters at times. I grew up here and I remember driving up from the peninsula where you spent the whole day driving up to Anchorage to go shopping, and you were checking weather reports, and you were bundled up, and you had provisions in your car, and you had snow shovels, and you didn't wait for anybody because we were frontiers kind of people where it was everybody for themselves to make your way, knowing that you're going to have to potentially give service or help to somebody else. And we have come so far with our technologies and conveniences that everybody now wants to be wearing their flip-flops and their tank tops and hop in their car and ride 90 miles an hour down the road and expect everything to be hunky-dory. And the weather just in Alaska doesn't always, isn't always favorable. And I think in some ways we've gotten jaded, and we hope and expect everything to be smooth, and we're not given the grace to those who are in the service industry of plowing the roads and fire and police that have to participate in this stuff all the time to understand that just because we want to go out and go shopping, sometimes we can't. And there's reasons for that sometimes it's just Mother Nature just kind of wreaking havoc with us, I apologize to those folks who don't feel that they're getting the speed of having all their roads plowed and the sidewalks plowed, but it's also Alaska, and we have to remember that and give a little grace to the employees that are out there. So I appreciate all the work that our employees are doing.
Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I second that what Mr. Best said. I want to thank all the folks who come and testify before us. My comment about that is personal views are just that. They're personal. And everybody has their own, and I hope that they don't try to force their personal views on other people. I also want to thank Deputy Mayor for stepping up for the Veterans Day, and I want to thank my colleague to my right for inviting me to be the best guest speaker at Job Corps for Veterans Day celebration as well. Thank you.
Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. That's good points about public testimony, although I believe the latest public testimony was some really good food for thought and something that should be shared with our Public Works Department. I do want to echo the comments of my other council members, thank you, Deputy Mayor Angelotti, for going out there in the cold and making sure that Palmer was well represented. That's pretty fantastic. My dad served 2 years in the Army back in the early 1950s, and my son Nealon just passed his 7-year mark, and he began his 8th year with the U.S. Navy. But I got one way bigger than that. Gentleman to my left here came and presented to the Assembly 190 students at Job Corps from all over Alaska and a lot from Western Alaska. And one of the stats that he laid out that blew the minds of many people, and including a lot of students, was that the Cooper men have served continuously in the U.S. Coast Guard between the father, Mr. Cooper, and his son from 1935 until 2022 when his son just retired from the U.S. Coast Guard. So that's something that stuck with me, like it will stick with me forever. 87 years of continuous service, and pretty amazing. I want to say thank you to Mr. Moosey, to Kimberly, Gina, and the rest of the city employees that kind of hung out. I know there's a lot of it's just tough. Those are tough things. Classification studies, pay. Anytime you get to things that deal with pay and benefits, you're going to get high centered and have to do a lot of stuff. So I appreciate you guys and all the work that you're doing, and hope make sure that comes out that way. Finally, I'll be gone on November 28th. I'll be in a little hamlet called Avenger, Texas, which I hope, whether it's the dollar store, or I don't think they have a library, population about 400, but I hope to be able to be on communication with you guys and be able to participate on the big screen, because I get so jealous when others get to do that. So thanks so much.
Councilman Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mirror the comments made by my other council members. Deputy Mayor Angelotti did an excellent job at that speech, and to say thank you to the city staff, especially for the snow removal. I mean, I drove out from Anchorage, and it's white knuckle drive, and I don't think they want to plow anymore. It was really bad, and as soon as I hit Palmer, it was a night and day difference on the road conditions. It was significantly better. I would like to get council support, something for next year. What I was informed of another person that was potentially injured on the train tracks by the Pioneer Home, and trying to cross those. And I would like the city to have a plan of how can we address this? What is the cost going to be? Nothing necessarily concrete, but it's something that we can start approaching and figuring out, because I know it's come up a lot with how difficult those train tracks are to cross, which a lot of people have to do. And I think if we can start having a plan of action, what this is going to be like for the city, I would like council support for that.
Seconded.
My support.
I think there's a lot of support for that. But yeah, well, we should talk some more. Well, thank you all for surviving a long meeting, and again, thanks to Councilman Cooper for his service. We're adjourned.
I forgot to say Jackie's stuff.
Was that? I guess so.